Hello, Hastings, and welcome, and the rest of you joining us. Welcome to this Hastings Candidate Forum for 2016. I'm Tom Wright with Hastings Community TV, and I am the moderator for tonight's forum. Here's what you can expect. We're going to talk about what you can watch or listen in this forum. You can tell your friends this is going out live on Channel 16 for those who have cable TV in Hastings. This is also live online. We have a live stream set up to the world on our Facebook page. You can also listen to it live on KDWA 1460 AM and 97.7 on the FM dial. And if you miss anything, have no fear. We also will be posting this online on our YouTube channel, so it'll be available there afterwards, and also replaying on Channel 16 as well. However you are tuning in, here's what's in store for you folks. You'll get to hear from all the candidates running for City Council, ward by ward, starting with Ward 1 here. Then you will get to hear from the candidates running to represent you at the state capitol in both the Minnesota House and the Senate. This is the anticipated schedule tonight for those of you watching at home. We have a schedule posted up there, and we could get ahead of that and we can get behind it, but it should be about where we hit. And this does include a 5-minute transition break in between the races. Before we start with our candidates for Ward 1 here, I want to lay out the rules of play here. First of all, this is a forum and not a debate. The candidates will have 1 minute to answer their question, and they will own that minute and can use it as they wish. There will be no interruptions. If the other candidate has to respond to something said, they must wait to do so during their next answer. The candidates were provided the questions 1 week in advance. The exception, of course, is the one question they will get to ask each other. Audience will not be able to ask questions during this forum, but you're very welcome to ask questions afterwards out in the forum in the area there and with the candidates. All right, now with that all set, we can now finally let these two do the talking. I'd like to introduce your candidates running for Ward 1, Mr. Bryan Alpaugh and Tina Folch. Yes, we can clap. We do need an applause sign here. Thank you. I will note here, there is no incumbent in this race as the current Ward 1 council member chose to not run for re-election. With that said, let's start with you, Mr. Alpaugh, with your opening statement. Please introduce yourself and provide any information you wish regarding your background and experience.
Thank you, Tom. My name is Bryan Alpaugh. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for inviting me here tonight. As a current two-term Hastings Planning Commission member, I've seen a lot of projects come through the commission that I believe have been great wins for our city. And I'm proud to be a part of that process. The reinvestment in the riverfront, the advancement of the arts, the restoration of some of our history, and of course those projects that display growing confidence of companies to invest in our city by bringing their business and creating local jobs. I came to Hastings 12 years ago, drawn by the beautiful river and the great schools for my daughter to finish her high school education. But it's been the historic town charm that has kept me captivated here all of these years. My first winter here, I became an active member of the local snowmobile club and a certified safety instructor so I could work with the residents to ensure that our youth are properly trained to safely utilize the trails in and around Hastings.
Please wrap it up, Mr. Alpaugh.
Okay, I care about the city and dedicated to work with and our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Folch, could you please provide your opening statement?
Sure. Hello, I'm Tina Folch, and I'm a Hastings native. I'm running for City Council, Ward 1. I'm the mother of 2 teenage boys. Both are student athletes, making me a very proud hockey and football mom. My background includes I have a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from the College of St. Catherine and a Master's in Public Administration from the Hamline University School of Business. After I graduated, I went to work for the state of Minnesota for 16 years. I worked for the Department of Public Safety, the Department of Employment and Economic Development, and MnDOT. Currently, I work for the City of Red Wing as the Contracts Administrator and Sustainability Liaison. An example of my work is recently I secured a 25-year solar garden subscription, which will save Red Wing over $6.5 million. My volunteer experience includes over 3 years on the Cottage Grove Planning Commission and the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee. For the past 2 years, I've been volunteering as a confirmation teacher at Our Saviors. I'm here tonight because I'd like to use the experience I've gained to serve the community that I love.
All right, and we'll stay with you, Ms. Folch. Why are you running? And tell us, what leadership qualities do you feel you have that would benefit your ward if elected?
Great, thanks. Well, what matters most to me is that Hastings is safe, vibrant, and friendly for both families and our businesses. I'm genuinely concerned about the needs of our neighborhoods, and I want to increase opportunities for community members to feel connected. As for leadership qualities, I have a good deal of experience in strategic planning at the state level. For instance, I organize statewide law enforcement campaigns, working with all levels of law enforcement. I've assisted with disaster recovery planning, and I sat on the state's grant management governance body, providing financial management expertise. At the local level, my leadership involvement includes my role at the City of Red Wing as the liaison to the Sustainability Commission. Having spent 3 years serving on the Planning Commission and Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee for the City of Cottage Grove, I also have experience there. Last, I'm a certified public procurement officer, which means I am a seasoned fiscal agent. I have the experience, knowledge, and passion to be an effective member of the council here in Hastings.
Thank you. And for you, Mr. Alpaugh, why are you running, and tell us what leadership qualities do you feel you have that would benefit your ward if elected?
I have chosen to run for City Council in this election because I have enjoyed being an active participant in our city's governmental process through my role in the Planning Commission, and I'd like to expand that role. 97% of the residents rate the quality of life in Hastings to be good to excellent. We all know that doesn't happen by accident. That happens because of great vision and leadership representing their citizens. I understand the value of small town feel of this historic river city and believe that I can continue that type of leadership. As a 25-year state employee working in the service-oriented information technology industry, over 20 years of that in management, I understand how to work with people, to listen when they have something to say, and to provide the necessary leadership to work through difficult situations, to reach suitable resolutions, and to produce budgets that focus on project prioritization and fiscal responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll stay with you, Mr. Alpaugh, with this next question. What is your assessment of the Hastings business climate? What are its biggest needs, and how do you feel those needs could be addressed by local government, if at all?
I believe that the current state of our business climate here within Hastings to be good. We've had a number of businesses either close, leave town, or downsize in recent years, taking some good jobs with them. However, more recently, we've seen more new businesses move into town and seen existing ones expand, creating new jobs. I believe that Hastings needs to continue that positive growth by creating a more desirable economic environment for business, to get those new jobs and to help retain more money within our local economy. We need to promote the many incentives and programs currently provided by the city and the state to help encourage the growth of new and existing businesses, and to continue our work with the Hastings Chamber of Commerce and their scope of economic development resources to build a stronger business climate here in Hastings.
And Ms. Folch, what is your assessment of the Hastings business climate? What are its biggest needs, and how do you feel those needs could be addressed by local government, if at all?
Sure. Well, let's first acknowledge the growth that Hastings has undergone since I was a kid here. The hot spots back in the day were Hardee's, Perman's, and the little movie theater down on 2nd Street, right? So the fact is, in the past few decades, we've had a lot of growth here in Hastings, and the issues have become more complicated. I've heard from business owners that are greatly concerned about the high cost of the city's sewer and water connection fees, which are known as whack and sack. The business owners that I've spoken to generally are concerned about the lack of transparency that the city has displayed about how these fees are calculated. We owe it to our businesses to look for ways to reduce these fees and make cost sharing more fair for business development. The second problem for local businesses is finding skilled labor and keeping them. I'm not totally sure about what the solution here is to this problem, but I do know that there are programs that the state has, for instance, within the Department of Employment and Economic Development, where they've been working on making connections between major employers and colleges. So we could look at what they're doing and see if that is something that we could replicate here at the local level. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll stay with you on this next question. What ideas do you have or have heard from others you have not mentioned yet that you believe would improve Hastings?
Sure. Well, most people are happy with our community when I've been out, but I do have 3 primary areas that I'd like to address. First, here in Ward 1, the Historic District, it struggles with the overly rigid constraints of the historic preservation guidelines. We all recognize the importance of preserving some of these homes, but it should not be on the burden these homeowners with excessive oversight and then renovation costs. I think the authority of the Historic Preservation Commission should be restructured. Second, when the 2008 recession hit, due to the budget constraints here in Hastings, we had to reduce the number of police officers on our streets. The most frequent concerns I have heard during door knocking evolve around public safety issues. Since our economy has recovered, I think it's time to invest in community policing. And third, have you paid attention to the entryways into Hastings from the north and the south onto Highway 61? We need to breathe new life into these gateways. I think we should have task forces consisting of business owners, the city, and residents to identify action items to improve these areas specifically. Thank you.
Mr. Alpaugh, your turn with that one. What ideas do you have or have heard from others you have not mentioned yet that you believe would improve Hastings?
Throughout my campaign, I've met a lot of residents who have had different ideas on ways to improve Hastings. Many spoke about the Rivertown Renaissance project and the positive impact they believe that it has already had. I have to agree with them, but we can't stop there. We also need to continue the Renaissance down the Vermilion Corridor to help make it more desirable for potential development. Throughout history, one of the greatest assets has always been the river, and I believe we need to exploit that for the benefit of the residents and visitors. By continuing the promotion of development along the river, it encourages people to visit. It'll inspire them to stay, to enjoy the arts, the trails, other various community activities and events, not to mention some of the local establishments as well. I believe we need to make Hastings a visitor destination between Stillwater, Red Wing, and not just a pass-through to get there.
Thank you. We will now hear the questions you have for each other. And we're going to stay with the first to respond alternating. So, Mr. Alpaugh, you will be responding to Ms. Folch, your question to Mr. Alpaugh. So, and just so our audience is aware, parameters were set for this question. In a nutshell, we said candidates cannot ask anything personal and must be understood by the general public. And these questions have been vetted beforehand, so we shouldn't have any surprises. Shouldn't. And so, again, we can go with you, Ms. Folch, with your question for Mr. Alpaugh.
Okay. I tried to make it easy. How do you work with differences of opinion when you are in a group decision-making process, such as being a member of the City Council?
Well, certainly everybody has their own opinion, and often you can run into differences of that opinion. You just need to understand where everybody is with their own opinions and try to see if there is commonality between those, to work with that, to understand where they're coming from, why they have that particular opinion, and what can be done to maybe bring those opinions, those differing opinions, much closer together.
Okay. And Mr. Alpaugh, you may now ask your question to Ms. Folch.
Having current experience and knowledge working with the City of Hastings, city government is certainly a big advantage to understanding the existing challenges facing the City Council today. How do you believe that your recent move to a Hastings ward after a 15-year absence will impact your ability to understand and address the current challenges facing the city today?
Oh, well, actually, I was living just on the north side of the bridge. Have you ever heard of Pine Coulee, which is behind Erickson Marine? So it's actually Hastings School District and Hastings mailing address. And it was actually about a year after I was living there that I realized I wasn't living in Hastings. I was actually on the very tip of Cottage Grove. I was maybe like a quarter of a mile inside of the boundary there. And I had actually contacted the city so that I could be on the planning commission, and to my surprise, I wasn't a resident. And so that's when I decided to approach the city of Cottage Grove, and they were more than happy to have me. And so I did volunteer there for 3 years. And so actually I've had my foot kind of in both communities, so to speak. I moved here because I am a member of the Hastings community, and I love it here, and I wanted to raise my family here. So I guess it's kind of a null point because I have been a community member for the last 16 years. Thanks.
Okay. And Ms. Folch, we'll stay with you on the closing statement here. This is your final opportunity tonight to address the voters. In your response, please tell them why they should vote for you and provide any other information you wish.
Great. Well, thanks. I am going to be honest. I am a single mom, and life is pretty hectic between work, and helping with school work and running the kids to activities. So with the little free time that I do have, I want to invest in something that's very meaningful to me. And with all this experience that I've gained over the years, I feel the best way that I can be of service is to do something that betters my lifelong community, not just for my boys, but for all of our families. I promise if you vote for me, I will listen and I will ask to hear your concerns. I will be dedicated to advocating for our neighborhoods and our businesses. Also, I'm not afraid to ask the hard questions. For those of you that know me, know that I'm not shy. And I'll not shy away from those tough questions that need to be asked because I'm not afraid to cause waves. My experience matters because I believe we need to make our community more resilient today as we keep our eye to the future so that generations to come have the same pride in our town as we do today. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Alpaugh, your closing statement. This is your final opportunity tonight to address the voters. In your response, please tell them why they should vote for you and provide any other information you wish.
Thank you. Home ownership always has been, and I hope will always be, part of the American dream. And whether you grew up in Hastings and have chosen to stay here, or whether you've moved here like I have, we're all here for that reason, to share in that American dream. As a member of the City Council, I will remember that fact in every decision that I make. My goal is to work with and for the citizens of Hastings so that they can enjoy their dream safely, securely, and without prejudice. I'm not a politician, and I have no political agenda. I'm a long-term citizen of Hastings with that same dream and an aspiration to make sure this city continues to serve its residents. Hastings is a beautiful river city with a great history. I believe that it is incumbent upon this council to continue that position for this city for continued growth while ensuring that we protect its historical past.
Great. Well, thank you both, again, coming and participating. This is a lot we're asking of you and really appreciate it. I'm sure many of those in the audience and those at home watching this are really appreciative of this as well. So thank you both. How about a round of applause for our first candidates? That concludes this segment for your candidates for Ward 1, Mr. Bryan Alpaugh and Ms. Tina Folch. Thank you both again for participating. We will now take a 5-minute break, and then we'll be back with the candidates for Ward 2. For those watching, if you miss any of this, this will be posted online on our YouTube channel again. And for those that would like to ask candidates questions, you're welcome to do so out in the atrium area there. Thank you. We'll be back in 5 minutes.